So this is Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by heavyweight Otto Wallin. Otto, how are you?
Very well, thank you. I'm just got back from the gym, had a nice lunch, and now I'm ready for this interview.
Sounds great. Yeah, I like it when people prep for the interview. Get your nutrition right, get your energy levels up. From what I hear, certainly in the last few weeks, there's been negotiations or at least informal talks between your team and that of Anthony Joshua about a fight early in 2023. I guess a good place to start is where are we at with that?
Well, I know there's been some talks between Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and my promoter, Dimitri Salida. So I don't know if there's anything concrete yet. I think that Joshua hasn't really made up his mind yet what he's going to do next, who he's going to fight. So we are still waiting to hear back.
Now, the two names in the running from what we've heard, and it is mostly speculation, is yourself and, of course, Dillian Whyte, someone you know well, having prepared at least for a fight with him at one point. The Dillian Whyte rematch for Joshua is an easy sell in that they fought before. There's animosity there. Maybe watching recent performances of both guys, some people may assume it will be more competitive than the first fight was. Why should Joshua, in your mind, fight you rather than Dillian?
Well, I think that's a good question. I think that, talking about a fight easy to sell, I would say that our fight would be pretty easy to sell too, because I fought Fury, I did well with him, and a lot of people in the UK know me from that fight. Maybe I might not be as a big of a name in the UK as Dillian Whyte, I don't know. But I know that I'm well respected. That's because what happened with Fury. And I think that Dillian Whyte, he's basically lost his, I don't know, he's got, in his last 4 fights, he might have lost like 2 of
the last 4, 3 if you feel that Franklin should have got the decision, I suppose, as well.
Right. So I don't think that anything has changed there. Joshua knocked him out before, and I think that Dillian Whyte is a good style for Joshua. So I feel strongly that would happen again. That Joshua would take him out because he's a perfect style for Joshua, and Joshua, you can just tee off on him, and Joshua has really good power. So I see Joshua knocking Dillian Whyte out again, and he's coming off of being knocked out with Povetkin and Fury. So I don't think his chin is getting any better, and I don't think his game is getting any better either. I think that Franklin gave him a good fight. So I think with Joshua, I think that that'll be a tougher fight, to be honest, for him than Dillian Whyte. So it kind of depends on what he wants. Does he want a light touch? Does he want a respectable fight in me? And that's questions for him.
And on the subject of Joshua, there's been a lot of talk recently that he plans to change up or tailor his training team around each fight that he has. So each different opponent, he might bring in different people. What do you think of that approach? Because you've obviously been with your trainer, one person specifically, for quite some time now.
Yeah, I've been with my trainer, Joey Gamache, since 2013. I had a couple fights in Germany when I first turned pro, and then I found Joey in Denmark. We started training there. We were there for like 4 years or something. And then we've been in New York because Joey's here from New York. And when he moved back here, I followed him. And Joey's, being great to me. I can't imagine fighting without him. I would never want to change our relationship. We have a great relationship, and he's really been vital to my career. And he's a really good trainer and somebody I trust 100%. He trusts me. He knows what I can do in the ring. He knows what I need to work on. So for me personally, I would never want to change. And I think that when you get to that stage, when you don't trust your team, you don't trust yourself, maybe you wanna switch things around all the time. I think that's a bad road to take, to be honest. You want to find some security around yourself and people that you trust and people that trust you to have a good relationship. And trust is so important in boxing. I think that going into the ring, walking down the aisle there, it's hard, and you need good people around you that's looking after you and that you can trust. You trust what they are saying, and they know where you're at. And I think it's very important to have consistency in your team.
Okay. Now, we've just come off of Fury Chisora 3 at the weekend. Went the way I think most people anticipated it would. You spent a week sparring Chisora in the build up to the contest. Just give us an idea of what he was looking like in camp. And because a lot of people have watched the fight and said, you know, he's starting to look a bit shot worn. And I'm just trying to get a sense of how much that's down to the opponent and the disparity in levels and how much it's down to Chisora himself.
Well, Dereck, he's getting older. He's been in a lot of tough fights over the years. So I respect him. He's a warrior. He always gives it all. And, he would never quit. And that's why sometimes you need help with it. If you're not going to quit and you're taking a lot of beatings, you need somebody else to pull the plug. Maybe your trainer or somebody in your team. This time it was the referee, right? So I respect Chisora, but he has to be smart about things. He's a father. He got to be ready for life after boxing. And I'm not saying that he should retire. That's not for me to say, but I think that he needs to take some, a good look at the situation and see where he's at, and take it from there. There's a life after boxing, and that's very important too.
Was this the first time you'd sparred him, or had you sparred him previously in your careers?
This was the first time.
Okay, so you can't really compare now to the Dereck Chisora of old, unfortunately. But did you get any impression in camp that, I don't want to say that he was going to struggle with Fury, because a lot of really good heavyweights will struggle with Fury, but that maybe he wasn't in the best place to trouble someone of that nature?
Well, I think that they had a good idea of what they needed to do. They already fought twice, of course, and Chisora, he tried to be aggressive. But I think when you're getting older, you might lose a little bit of footwork and speed. And to beat somebody like Fury, you need that. You need good footwork to get inside. And when you get inside, you need speed to be able to land on him. So, I think that was pretty much expected what happened in the fight, just because of what things are, been happening. But Fury, is best heavyweight out there. So it's a big task for anyone to beat him.
Do you think, having watched the fight, that Fury may have prolonged Chisora's suffering? I know it's a horrible thing to say, but there did seem to be certain times in the fight where if he'd stepped it up, he could have got Chisora out of there maybe earlier. I know it's not his responsibility necessarily to save Chisora, but just do you think maybe he prolonged it unnecessarily?
I wouldn't call it that. It's hard to tell. Maybe he could have stepped it up or something, but it's hard to know looking in from the outside. I'm sure he knows that Chisora can be a dangerous guy, and you need to be alert at all times. But it would have been nice to see Dereck not take so much punishment.
And then at the end of the fight, we saw the confrontation on the ring apron between Fury and Usyk. I'm not sure quite how much of Fury's rambling tirade Usyk understood, but I think he probably got the general impression. And then you had Joe Joyce jump up and kind of involve himself as well, which was amusing for people watching, I think. What did you make of that whole? I mean, it's a little bit pantomime perhaps, but what did you make of it?
I don't know. I mean, Fury is a character. He likes to talk a lot, and one day he will say that Usyk is a great fighter. The next day he will say that he's a bum. So it's hard to trust anything he says. But Usyk is a good fighter. I think everybody knows that now. He didn't get to say much there. I felt like Fury was the only one talking, but it was kind of amusing. Yeah. I don't know what to make of that. I think that Usyk and Fury fighting would be a good thing, because we can get one champion. That'd be amazing. And I think that you can never underestimate Usyk. He's smaller, of course, but at the same time, looking at him next to Fury, he's not that small. I thought he was going to be too small for Joshua. So I think that would be an interesting fight. I think that Fury would be the favorite, but it wouldn't be just a walkover. It wouldn't be like he can just go in there and blast him out.
What tactics do you think Usyk needs to employ against Fury to have the best possible chance of winning that fight?
Well, he needs to show zero respect for sure. Stay on him. He's really good at taking angles, moving his head. So he's got to do that to get to the inside. and then bang the body. And when he starts banging the body, he might be able to hit the head also. And we both southpaws, me and him, and I opened a big cut on his right eye, 2 cuts actually. And that's possible that Usyk can open that up, just using his left hook to the head. But he would have to set it up with some body shots before. But Usyk is a smart fighter. He needs to just move his head and move his feet, and I think that will be what he needs to do.
What we see Fury doing a great deal, particularly against smaller opponents, I mean, that's most of his opponents, let's be honest, because of the size of him, is leaning on, tying up, and then pushing them back towards the other side of the ring, draining them as he does so, but also keeping himself out of harm's way. How does Usyk combat that? Because he's got to dart inside quickly, but how does he get back out without being claimed?
Yeah, so he would have to get in there, fire shots, and then take an angle and go around him. Take an angle, go to the side, and go around him. He's really good at that. So I think he can do it. But that's of course would be an issue if Fury starts grabbing him and leaning on him, because it's tiring. He did that with me, and he's done that with a lot of other guys.